everyone, and welcome to the interior of the 2024 Range Rover Evoque here in the P250 SE Dynamic trim. Here we have a black interior, open pore wood. We have a new infotainment screen that kind of blends everything into one, so you can kind of see there are no buttons in this interior. We have a new steering wheel design here with a lot of stuff integrated into the steering wheel, and overall it's a very clean new interior space with a little bit of some confusing infotainment system stuff. And if you haven't checked out my full tour and review video, definitely go have a look at that. But I'm going to take you guys quickly on an exterior tour just to check out the few changes we have here for 2024, because there are just a little bit of stuff happening. And here it is, the 2024 Range Rover Evoque here in this new Tribeca Blue paint finish. And I really like these 20-inch wheels as well as the contrasting Corinthian bronze roof here. I think it's a really cool touch. Definitely changes things up a little bit. We have a slimmer taillight design here, which does have a nice little startup animation. We also will find back here that there is no more Land Rover badge in the back. It just says Range Rover Evoque, which I think is really nice. We do have real exhaust ports, though. They are kind of tucked under the vehicle. Very short rear overhangs as well as the front overhangs. They have over 8 inches of ground clearance on the Evoque as well. Check out this Corinthian bronze touch up here. Really like that. We have new slimmer pixel LED headlights up front here, which is really nice. We do keep the Land Rover badge up front, though. It is just gone on the rear of the vehicle. Again, I think it looks fantastic. It is the urban Land Rover Range Rover product. And let's go take this thing on a little drive cut, because it is quite actually fun to drive around town with this 2-liter turbo 4. I do also like this little plaque up here, which tells you the model of your Evoque as well. We have retractable door handles as well. They are open right now because the vehicle is unlocked and on. Pretty easy to open and close, not too hard. Rear space though in the Evoques are a little bit tight. That's the only real complaint I have with them, but otherwise let's go take this thing on a drive. Okay guys, we are inside of the Range Rover Evoque now, and how do we put it into gear? Well, we have this really tiny little gear selector in this center console here. Easy to pop it into drive. We have a sport mode for the ZF 9-speed. We have a sport mode for the ZF Sports gearbox here. Of course, we have reverse and neutral. You do have to press the little button here to put it into reverse. Very clear cameras. We have a 360-degree view camera system as well, which is really fantastic. Really love the animations on here. Off-road cameras as well as, you know, it is a Range Rover product. And of course, we have parking sensors, trajectory, and some fun stuff where it can kind of project whatever the front is. Ground is in front of you on here once you start moving a little bit, which is really cool. And I just actually found out if you press this button here, it'll actually upload a new display on your heads-up display. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera here, which also shows the wheel movement as well as I think different angles you're kind of going on, which is really fun. You can turn it off by pressing that button there. So pretty cool stuff here in terms of off-road settings. We have terrain response here. We have a few different drive modes to go through: dynamic, comfort, eco, and all that stuff. I'm going to put it in comfort for right now, and we can also see if we go into our dynamic mode here, we can see all the different parameters we can change when you're in dynamic mode. So you have your engine, steering, gear shift, and suspension, which is a lot of fun settings here. So we have adaptive dampers on this particular one. We have a pretty nice metal paddle shifters. You can feel there, which is really nice. Big open panoramic roof, and let's head out on the road. Now, as we can see here, we actually have a few different gauge cluster themes we can kind of cycle through, which is really fun. Right now we have this kind of center style theme here. We can change what's happening on either side of these clusters if we wanted to, or we can just kind of change it to this more traditional style display and changing this interior portion. We have a full map display, and right now it's actually displaying Apple Maps instead of the inbuilt navigation system because I have my phone connected via wireless Apple CarPlay over here. You can see my phone's and this wireless charger. I'm just gonna put this over here right now because it gets a little bit toasty in there. We also have a kind of cleaner display as well as a driver assistance display as well. So really nice configurable gauge clusters. There's a lot more stuff you can change in here. I'm just kind of going into the basics here. You can kind of press this center button and get all this different information here of what you want on these different panels. So I really like the breadth of customizability that they're allowing you to have in the new Evoque. cruising around town, I actually have grown to love this chassis over the past week. I just got out of a Cadillac XT4, which is actually kind of a competitor to the Evoque. And you know, the Evoque is smaller. It's pretty much one of the smallest vehicles in this segment. Things like a BMW X1, a Mercedes GLA, a GLB, you have a Volvo XC40. There's a lot of vehicles in this segment, Audi Q3, and the Evoque is probably one of the smallest, though it's one of the most best looking vehicles. It also has that Range Rover brand name and technology and information all around it, and that kind of really bumps it up a lot. And you also have some really cool dynamics of this chassis, and it's interesting to kind of see how they take that whole ethos of the Range Rover brand and shove it into this kind of urban style vehicle here. And I have to say, it does work in some areas. In other areas it is just okay, but it definitely does feel more dynamic, more premium of a driving experience, at least, than the Cadillac I just came out of. Heading out onto a main road here. Now, I will say we have pretty tall gears on the Evoque, and you know, this is a transmission and engine that is tuned for fuel economy, and I would kind of like to say that they emphasize that in the US market, but I don't think they do, because in other markets they actually offer plug-in hybrid versions of the Evoque. They offer mild hybrid versions of the Evoque, so I don't think that they're really kind of fully fully utilizing this platform here in the US. So hopefully we'll see some of those variants down the road here. But right now, this is just a gas turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Now I'm going to pop it into dynamic mode here. You see you can just swipe to do that pretty easily. We have all of our settings on. We're going to hop out onto the highway here just to see a little bit of some handling and acceleration. Definitely feels peppier off the line. We can pop the transmission in sport as well, play with the gears. And I have to say, this is where the Evoque actually surprised me in its just general chassis dynamics. You can see it's recommending me to go to higher gears here for fuel efficiency. But it's this sporty side of the Evoque that I really was not expecting, like, whatsoever. You know, I'm going into a Range Rover Land Rover product, and I'm going straight into thinking off-road. It's going to be high off the ground feeling. You're going to feel a little bit more of that luxurious kind of experience here. But no, it has that experience, but it has a little bit of a dynamic, sporty side to it. I really think they've kind of drawn that out from their learnings from their SV division, as well as from the Jaguar line of products, which are definitely a little bit more of car-like and sportier on that side. So pretty impressed with that. And acceleration for this engine's pretty good. You know, it kind of runs out of breath going up into the higher speed levels over here, but generally I think it's more than enough. We have around a little over 240 horsepower, which is plenty potent. You know, your 0 to 60 performance times are not going to be very high. This isn't a vehicle that you're going to be racing or anything. It's just a good general around vehicle, urban style vehicle, though I say that and then it doesn't do super good on fuel economy. We're getting around 20 miles per gallon on average here. I think that's something a mild hybrid system, which they do offer in other markets, would kind of benefit here on this particular US model. Out here on the highway, very good chassis dynamics. The suspension in comfort mode, now we just switched it back to comfort mode. Very smooth over just general pavement and bumps. It's pretty quiet on this interior, though I will note there is a wind whistle coming from like this corner up here, or maybe from the mirror. It is kind of faint whistling in my ear sometimes, so that's one thing I did notice. Even with the window completely closed, I've tried opening and closing it a few times, and it just is still a little bit persistent. But generally on the highway, it's very comfortable. And I just actually got out of driving a Volvo XC60, a little bit of a bigger vehicle compared to this one. And the ride in that was just so unnecessarily stiff. This actually felt very welcome. The only issue I would say where this Evoque kind of falls apart just a little bit is, I think with these larger 20-inch wheels and over some just broken, uneven pavement, you really do feel those jitters and bumps into the cabin a little bit too much, I think, for me. And especially when you put it into the dynamic mode, because that stiffens up those dampers a little bit, and you kind of get a lot of that stuff is more translated into the cabin. Though generally in the comfort setting and pretty much all conditions, it's actually quite comfortable and smooth around just day-to-day driving, which I do quite like a lot. Now, as we are out here on the highway, I do have to test for you guys the kind of cruise control and safety systems that we have on this Evoque. So I'm going to change our display over to our adaptive safety systems display, and it really doesn't have anything too advanced on this system. So as you can see here on the steering wheel, it is a green lit up little lane line marker, and that's just really your kind of lane departure assist here. I say lane departure assist because it doesn't really have a lane keep assist function. It just doesn't really kind of keep you centered in the lanes. It kind of pogos you, sticks you in and out of the lanes, and sometimes it really just gives you a warning, a little bit of a nudge. So I wouldn't really put too much confidence in that part of the system. You can turn that off by holding the button here, and it will deactivate, or you can turn it back on quickly with one press, which is nice. Turning on your adaptive cruise, you just press this button twice actually, and you can just set it to your desired speed. You can change your distance control pretty easily, so and it just kind of goes about its way on the highway. Obviously you have to have your hands on the wheel at all times for this particular model. There's no kind of eye tracking or any kind of hands-free style system in this Range Rover Evoque whatsoever. I didn't even find that in an option actually. So this one's pretty much fully loaded, save for I think a ambient lighting and rear climate package. So that would be something I would like to see down the road. They could probably offer, because a lot of competitors are offering pretty advanced cruise control and kind of full steering assist style systems, and this one not having it for $60,000 in 2024 is a little bit disappointing on my personal part. I also have a digital rear view mirror here, which does work pretty nice. It's very limited actually in its adjustability. You can only go up and down and change the brightness, and some other digital rear view mirrors you can kind of change the zoom angle. You can go left and right. I'm not sure why this isn't so customizable, because I think actually the camera for this is on the roof and not in the rear glass actually, so that may be the reasoning for that. Very clear, and it works very well. It's one of my favorite actually, just resolution wise systems. And I actually like the mounting on the roof. I think it gives you a better view than having something mounted into like the rear trunk or something, but I wish there was a little bit more customizability to that, because not everyone's going to have just an up and down position they want to adjust to. And then popping it back into dynamic mode, you can kind of change your whole experience of the Evoque pretty quickly. You can pop into the sport mode for the gearbox, go down a few gears of this ZF sourced gearbox here, and I have to say the gear shifts themselves are actually very quick. They sound pretty sporty, but at the end of the day though, still this gearbox is tuned for comfort. Now while I do have you guys here on the highway, I do want to test the Meridian audio system, and unfortunately this was a little bit of a disappointing feature I think on the Evoque for me, because it just does not sound super premium, especially as an expensive option that you're going to be getting on the Evoque. It just, I'll let you guys hear it for yourself. I'm going to press this audio here and let's see how you guys think about it. I'll open our audio settings while we're at it as well. Audio, quick access to that. I'm going to pull up the volume for you guys. Alright guys, I just want to give you a quick little audio test here. And you know, it really just hasn't been my favorite system I've had tested this week. It just doesn't feel super premium, I think, for a upgraded audio system experience for the Meridian system. I feel like I've listened to some Bose systems, and especially when you start comparing things like the Bowers & Wilkins and Harman Kardon systems you can find in like a BMW or even the Volvo XC40, this just does not stand a chance. Some of the bass and voice levels are just drowned out. Things start just feeling a little bit washed around each other, and even at the higher end volume levels, it just doesn't feel like it's getting super loud to me, which is a little bit disappointing. I was expecting a little bit better of a performance out of a Range Rover upgraded audio system, but alas, this is the upgraded audio system you're going to find in the Evoque. Anyways, guys, I generally have been having a very positive experience with the Evoque for this past week, though you do have to remember that this is a smaller vehicle than pretty much all of the competition here. And at this higher price point, you really are paying for the looks, the Range Rover brand experience, and that just general overall feel you're going to be getting driving a Range Rover. You have that really high driving experience, which I honestly do like, with that kind of smaller hatchback style body shape. But if you are valuing something that's going to have a little bit more fuel economy, better general storage and interior space, you're definitely going to want to either upgrade to something like a Velar if you're able to kind of do so, or go with something from the competition. Otherwise, I think this is a pretty good update for 2024. I do love the technology that we have in here. I don't like some of the choices they made with the technology by kind of removing some of the features in here, but generally, I think it's a pretty good comprehensive update. Otherwise, I'd like to see a little bit more fuel economy, like I mentioned. I want to see some more engine lineups brought back and a little bit more options and features that they kind of took away for this model year. Anyways, guys, thank you for joining me on yet another POV drive and review with Allcarnews. And as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.